to join the Fever and something, what's special about this opportunity for you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm really excited. I had some stint there at Golden State and it was a great time. So yeah, went over, played with Australia, won a gold there, and that was great. So just to be back in the W and have another crack is really exciting. Really grateful for this opportunity here with the Fever and just excited.
The Indiana Fever's entire season was teetering on the edge of a catastrophic collapse. The team meticulously built around the most electrifying player in a generation, Caitlin Clark, was suddenly broken, and with their phenomenal star sidelined by a nagging injury, their championship aspirations were rapidly turning to dust. It was in this moment of sheer desperation that a shocking call was made, not to a local free agent, but to a player halfway across the globe in China. However, this was far more than a last-ditch effort to plug a hole in the roster. It was a cold, calculated gamble that secretly exposed a master plan to fix the team's most devastating weakness, and the player they signed was the one person who had already proven she could single-handedly destroy them.
Big news, breaking news, Chloe Bibby, who was recently on the Golden State Valkyries, has been signed to the Indiana Fever. This is not a huge surprise to me. I have mentioned it in multiple videos. She was doing really well with the Valkyries. I think she was only with them for about 5 games, while a lot of their players went over to Eurobasket.
This incredible story truly begins not in the heart of Indianapolis, but in a lonely hotel room thousands of miles away in China, where Australian forward Chloe Bibby received the phone call that would violently turn her world upside down. She was living the unpredictable life of an international basketball star, constantly adapting to different cultures, languages, and time zones. When the Indiana Fever presented her with a sliver of an opportunity, there was absolutely no time to process the offer, no time to pack a proper suitcase, and certainly no time for a quick, comforting trip home to Australia. She was forced to drop everything, abandoning her life overseas on a moment's notice to board the first available flight and begin the punishing, soul-crushing journey back to America. The entire experience was a disorienting blur, a non-stop adrenaline-fueled haze of chaotic airports and crippling jet lag. The sheer willingness to uproot your entire existence in a matter of hours for a perilous 7-day contract is almost unheard of in professional sports. It speaks to a level of raw hunger and resilience the Fever desperately needed, and it revealed a player who has been relentlessly fighting her entire career for this exact moment. But this wasn't just a random name pulled from a hat. The Fever had already witnessed her lethal talent up close, and they'd learned about it in the most painful and humiliating way imaginable.
The main thing I remember about Chloe was the fact that she could shoot, right? That's the main thing I remember about her. Watching her games with the Valkyries, if y'all don't remember that, she was on the Valkyries. I think she played for the preseason and she got signed again, didn't play like 5 games. She finished with like 42% shooting from the 3. So she could hit, man. She could really hit.
Chloe Bibby, the newest member of the Indiana Fever, you know, her fit and whether she's a long-term fit for the Fever remains to be seen. But on the surface, on paper, it makes a lot of sense because this is a team that has been in dire need of, in my opinion, of a stretch 4. And that is what Bibby, skill set wise, is capable of doing. We don't have a huge sample size to work with. Obviously, she had a short spurt with the Valkyries.
Just a few weeks before that life-altering phone call, Chloe Bibby was unknowingly conducting the most important audition of her life for the Indiana Fever. Playing on a temporary hardship contract for the Golden State Valkyries, she stepped onto the court against the very team that would soon become her home and proceeded to set them on fire. In just 24 minutes of devastatingly efficient play, she dropped 12 points and hit a series of critical 3-pointers, leaving a permanent scar on the Fever's psyche with her calm, unshakable veteran presence. She was their opponent that night, but in real time, right before their disbelieving eyes, she was also solving their biggest and most glaring problem on the court. It was the kind of bold, unapologetic performance that forces a front office to take immediate notice and whisper amongst themselves, "Why in the world isn't she on our team?" It was one thing to score against them, but Bibby was delivering the exact offensive weapon that was glaringly absent from their own arsenal. Unbeknownst to her, she wasn't just playing for a spot on the Valkyries, she was forcefully paving her own path straight to Indianapolis.
But I remember specifically her shooting. She was shooting that thing, man. She was stretching the floor, and the Indiana Fever needs that. They need somebody that can help stretch that floor, make it more dangerous at that perimeter, make the defense respect that perimeter just as much as they respect the paint presence, right? So she can help with that.
There were a lot of fans where the Fever are too slow. They want to play slow it down, grind it out basketball. Doesn't seem that way. Doesn't seem that way by the player they just signed and the messaging that is going across there. So that has to be reassuring for a lot of the fans. And Khloe Bibby seems to have a good head on her shoulders, a good attitude, and a good approach.
The Indiana Fever's entire offensive strategy had a critical, fatal flaw, and every single opponent in the league knew exactly how to exploit it. With the phenomenally talented Aaliyah Boston dominating inside the paint, opposing defenses could simply collapse inward, forming an impenetrable wall around the basket and completely suffocating the Fever's attack. The team has been in desperate, dire need of a true stretch four, a player who can consistently drain threes from the perimeter and force defenders to stay honest, which in turn creates precious, invaluable space for everyone else to operate. Khloe Bibby is that missing piece of the puzzle. During her brief, impactful time with the Valkyries, her three-point shooting percentage was a stunning, almost unbelievable 42.1%. That isn't just a good number, it's a statistic that fundamentally changes the geometry of the game. Her ability to consistently hit from deep is the secret key that could finally unlock Clark's explosive drives to the basket and Boston's sheer dominance in the post, transforming a predictable, stagnant offense into an unstoppable force. But as impressive as her WNBA numbers were in those limited minutes, they don't even begin to tell the whole story. To truly understand why her signing is such a potential franchise-altering move, you have to look at what she was doing when the American spotlight wasn't shining on her.
Brianna Turner is over there collecting dust. We need somebody off the bench that can come in with some size and rain threes until Damaris Dantis' shot begins to fall, and we go out and we get one. Chloe Bibby. Last time we saw Chloe Bibby, she dropped 12 points against the Indiana Fever. Wait for it, in her WNBA debut. She shoots over 40% from the field. She shoots over 40% from three.
With all these wave players, I kept saying there was one player that the Indiana Fever needed to sign, and today it happened. That's right, the Indiana Fever have officially signed Chloe Bibby. She showed up and showed out with all the teams that she was with in the preseason, especially with the Valkyries. And I kept saying she could spread the floor. She makes the three. She would be perfect, a perfect pickup for the Indiana Fever, except they took forever to sign her. So I was like, maybe they're not going to sign her.
Long before her dramatic return to the WNBA, Chloe Bibby was quietly and methodically building a secret resume as an undisputed international powerhouse. While many American fans may not have recognized her name, she was utterly dominating overseas. Playing for Gorzo Wielkopolski in Poland's top professional league, she wasn't just a role player or a contributor. She was crowned the league's most valuable player, averaging a staggering 20.9 points and 5.9 rebounds per game. When she faced Europe's most elite competition in the prestigious Euro Cup, her numbers became even more jaw-dropping. An incredible 22 points, 7.7 rebounds, and 2.2 steals per game. These aren't just solid, reliable stats. These are undeniable superstar-level numbers that prove she can carry an offense and be the undisputed focal point of a team. She wasn't just a role player waiting by the phone for a call-up. She was a certified star, perfecting her deadly craft on the world stage, patiently preparing for the moment she'd finally get the shot she deserved. But earning individual awards overseas is one thing. Successfully integrating into a team with a megastar like Caitlin Clark requires a completely different kind of mindset and ego, and that's where the timing of this signing becomes incredibly complex and potentially explosive.
Where were you when you got the news or got the call that the Fever were picking you up?
I was in China.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So how quickly were you, like, just scramble mode then coming over to the States, like pack a bag and go?
Well, yeah, I was already in, so I went from San Francisco to China, and so then I didn't really get to go back to Australia. So just from China, I was like, well, I already have some stuff packed, so then just come back over here, back to America. So yeah, it was good. It all happened pretty fast, but as I said, super grateful.
This high-stakes move comes at a moment of intense uncertainty and swirling, distracting rumors for the Fever. Caitlin Clark's persistent groin injury has left a massive gaping hole in the lineup and put immense, almost unbearable pressure on the rest of the roster. At the exact same time, veteran and former All-Star forward Brianna Turner has been conspicuously and mysteriously collecting dust on the bench, raising uncomfortable questions about coaching decisions and the team's internal power dynamics. Into this volatile, unstable situation steps Khloe Bibby on a short-term, high-pressure hardship contract that puts her entire future on the line. Is she just a temporary bandage? A quick fix to get them through Clark's absence? Or is this a ruthless, high-stakes audition for a permanent roster spot? A move that could force another established player out the door and signal a major fundamental shift in the team's entire philosophy. In this pressure cooker environment, every single second Bibby plays is under a microscope, but head coach Christy Sides isn't leaving her integration to chance. Her plan is surprisingly simple and ruthlessly clear.
I can go.
Well, yeah, I was already in, so I went from San Francisco to China, and so then I didn't really get to go back to Australia. So just from China, I was like, well, I already have some stuff back, so then just come back over here, back to America. So yeah, it was good. It all happened pretty fast, but as I said, super grateful for the opportunity.
Does it still feel chaotic now that you've been with the team for a day, or do you feel like a little bit settled now?
I feel a little bit settled. I have had a lot of sleep, which is great. So I think I've got over the jet lag a little bit. So feeling good.
You had the chance to go and play against this favorite team.
Yeah.
What kind of your impressions then, and how do you feel like you can fit into what they do are?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, really physical team, tough, fast-paced, and I like that fast, style. So I think that suits me a lot.
This was no panic move, born from desperation. Head coach Christy Sides unveiled a calculated, almost brilliant plan to get Bibby integrated into the system immediately. She revealed to the media that they were intentionally simplifying and stripping down the playbook for her, keeping it laser focused on her greatest strengths. Her role is crystal clear and non-negotiable. Be the stretch four for Aaliyah Boston, aggressively stretch the floor and shoot the three without hesitation. She isn't expected to learn a complicated, nuanced system overnight or fundamentally change her game. The sole objective is to get her on the court and empower her to make an immediate, tangible impact. This strategic clarity shows that the coaching staff has identified their specific weakness with surgical precision and found a player who is a perfect tactical fit. It's a masterful coaching move designed to get results now, but while a simple game plan can win you a few games, championship teams are built on something far deeper than just strategy. They're built on chemistry, and in this specific case, a shared and forgotten history of intense rivalry.
I mean, it's a challenge always, anytime you're integrating, but I think at the position that she'll play for us, really being somebody that's in that stretch four, middle of the floor, there's not a lot of nuance to how we'll use her. We'll shorten the playbook a little bit, make it specific to ways that we can continue to stretch the floor when we put her on the floor with AB.
Today you had a rare practice.
So, that is pretty straightforward and simple from head coach Stephanie White. When you hear her say she'll fit in next to AB, which means it seems like the plan for Bibby is to play in Aaliyah Boston minutes, where of course Aaliyah Boston is playing a lot of minutes on the floor.
What makes this new partnership even more fascinating is a forgotten, buried history between the two players. Long before they were WNBA teammates, Caitlin Clark and Chloe Bibby were bitter, determined rivals in the intense, high-stakes world of Big Ten college basketball. Clark's Iowa Hawkeyes and Bibby's Maryland Terrapins faced off in fiercely contested, nationally televised battles in front of sold-out arenas, with each player trying to dominate and get the best of the other. Their styles were a study in contrasts. Clark, the flashy, generational offensive talent who could pull up from the logo, and Bibby, the tough, gritty sharpshooter who played with a chip on her shoulder. That deep history of rivalry adds a compelling, almost cinematic layer to their new partnership. Having faced Clark's unbelievable talent before, Bibby is one of the few players in the world who has never been intimidated by it, because she knows exactly what it takes to compete at that elite level.
I truly didn't see who could fit the Indiana Fever system that was available that hasn't already been taken by other teams. It did end up being kind of like the obvious answer, which is Chloe Bibby, who again, I think is a good signing. I don't think is going to change the landscape of the Indiana Fever basketball. I do like that she's young. I do like that she has young legs. I love that she does fit into a more modern style of basketball, 6 foot, plays outside of the arc. So I am very, 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 very curious to see how she does fit into.
Bibby's arrival immediately sent ripples through a locker room already on edge. For Aaliyah Boston, a new sharpshooter on the perimeter was a potential godsend, someone who could finally draw defenders away and give her room to operate. But for Brianna Turner, the situation was far more precarious. Seeing a new forward brought in while she was inexplicably benched had to feel like a direct threat to her position on the team. The unspoken tension was palpable. Bibby wasn't just filling an injury spot, she was a walking, breathing symbol of a potential new direction for the team, one that might not include everyone currently on the roster. She had to navigate this delicate social dynamic while simultaneously proving her worth on the court, making her task not just a physical challenge, but a political one as well. Every pass, every shot, and every interaction would be scrutinized not just by the coaches, but by her own teammates. Just days after her arrival, Bibby gave an interview that sent shockwaves through the WNBA media landscape. When asked about the immense pressure of stepping in for a player like Caitlin Clark, she gave a surprisingly blunt and honest answer. She stated that while Clark was an amazing talent, the team's success couldn't rest on one person's shoulders, and that it was on everyone to step up. To the media, this was a controversial statement. Some framed it as a subtle shot at Clark, a refusal to bow down to the team's megastar. But for those inside the locker room, it was a much-needed dose of reality. Bibby wasn't being disrespectful, she was being a leader. She was shifting the narrative from waiting for our savior to return to winning with who we have right now. It was a bold move that showed she wasn't there to be a quiet backup. She was there to make an impact and hold everyone, including herself, accountable. What makes Bibby's journey even more remarkable is the brutal financial reality of her situation. A 7-day hardship contract in the WNBA pays just a few $1,000s, a tiny fraction of what a star player makes. She abandoned her lucrative career in Europe, spent thousands on last-minute travel, and put her entire life on hold for a contract that offered zero long-term security. This wasn't a move motivated by money, it was fueled by pure unadulterated ambition. Every single practice, every drill, and every minute of game time was a do-or-die tryout for her entire WNBA career. If she failed to impress, she could be on a plane back to China in a week, her dream potentially over for good. This immense pressure transforms every possession into the most important play of her life, making her story not just about basketball, but about the incredible sacrifice required to chase a dream. The ripple effect of Khloe Bibby's signing extends far beyond a few games. If she proves to be the missing piece the Fever have been searching for, it will force the front office to make some incredibly difficult decisions. Does Brianna Turner, a former All-Star, become expendable? Does the team's entire offensive identity permanently shift to a 5-out system centered around shooting? Bibby's performance on this short-term deal could trigger a chain reaction, leading to trades, roster cuts, and a complete reevaluation of the team's long-term strategy. Conversely, if she struggles to adapt, it will be a painful confirmation of just how dependent the team is on Caitlin Clark, sending the front office back to the drawing board. This 7-day contract isn't just a tryout for one player, it's a litmus test for the entire future of the Indiana Fever franchise. In the end, this whirlwind saga is about so much more than one player replacing another. It's the story of a desperate team on the verge of collapse, a hidden international star finally getting her long overdue moment in the spotlight, a brilliant coaching gamble that could either save the season or backfire spectacularly, and a fierce college rivalry that has been reborn as a fragile but powerful alliance. The fate of the Indiana Fever's championship hopes, and perhaps the future of their entire franchise, now rests on the shoulders of the very player who, just weeks ago, tore their defense apart without mercy. The only question that remains is whether this audacious, high-stakes gamble will finally be the move that unleashes their true potential.